Hello, everyone. My name is Kelsey Jones. I am a BSN prepared nurse. I work over at Centerley Hospital, and I'm really excited today because I am working with Erica Smitman, who is a fabulous nurse. She's going to tell you a little bit about herself in just a minute, but she's going to be here to talk to you about school-age vaccinations and what the purpose of this presentation is just a great way for us to talk through vaccinations, why they're important, what's planned for your child upcoming for school, what's required of them. And then I think we're also going to be talking through, it was a great platform for us to give you a chance to have some question and answer. And so what we're going to do instead is allow you to view this presentation. And then if you have any questions, you can send those in following the viewing. So with that being said, Erica, thank you so much for taking your time this evening to talk to us. And I'll let you maybe tell us a little bit about yourself, and then you can jump right into the presentation.
Okay, awesome. I am happy to be here. My name is Erica, as Kelsey said. I'm here to discuss vaccinations for school-age children. And generally, we're going to go over vaccines. We're going to have a look at children's vaccination schedules and definitely some time for questions. And let me find my button here so I can move things along. Let's see. Oh, there it goes. It's moving. Okay. So I am also a bachelor's prepared nurse. I graduated from ODU just a little over 10 years ago, and I've been at Centerley ever since. I worked in the ICU for 10 years and recently took on a new role in infection prevention. And I'm a mom of three, so I have a 23-year-old, 21-year-old, and a 2-year-old. So I've had to do my second round of school-age vaccinations, I guess you could say. And you know, vaccines are something our kids have to go through, and I hate having to take them to get shots, but it helps to know what you're getting into and why, and realizing how important it is. So let's just talk about it. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them as we go along. So what is a vaccine? It's a preventative preparation used to stimulate the body's immune response against a specific disease using either messenger RNA or killed or weakened bacteria or viruses to prepare the body to recognize the disease and produce antibodies. So that's like a super wordy way of saying they're basically putting a beat up virus or germ into your body so that your body goes, hey, that guy doesn't belong here, and you make antibodies against it so that you don't get that disease in the future. I'm relying heavily on some links to the CDC here. It really they have all of the information. They have everything that is up to date. And it's the standard by which our state makes the decisions on what vaccines kids have to go to school. So we're going to click over here if it's going to work. And Kelsey, can you see if that website came up? Or do I have to do a new share?
So I don't see the website, but go ahead and hit the escape button, and that should minimize your PowerPoint slide deck. And there we go, right there.
Perfect. So if you follow any of these links to the CDC, there's a whole page for parents. Everything you could want to know about vaccinations, and then probably even more than that, is on this webpage. So the first page here shows you, it says, why do you vaccinate? So we want to vaccinate our kids because if we give them on-time vaccinations, then they're protected in a timely manner. I don't know about you guys, but my toddler is eating everything. It's all going in her mouth. She's rolling around on the floor. She thinks rocks are the coolest thing that are on the planet right now. But we want to give them immunity before they're exposed to potentially life-threatening diseases. And they are tested, vaccines are tested to make sure that they're safe and effective at the recommended ages. And then you can see, well child visits, of course, any questions that you have about your child's specific vaccination schedule, things that they're going through, you always ask your child's pediatrician. And speaking of my 23-year-old, he's calling me from Hawaii. Hold on, Okay. always refer to your pediatrician. They're going to have the best plan forward that's specific for your child. So, well child visits, vaccination decisions, your baby's immune system, all of these things are here. Combination vaccines like your MMR, measles, mumps, rubella, they're all in one. Instead of having to get 3 different shots, you can get it into one vaccination. And it's the same with the Tdap, tetanus, diphtheria, and pertussis, all in one. So why vaccinate? In making the vaccination decision, a lot of parents are concerned. I know I am. I feel like they get so much all at once, and how are they supposed to be okay with that? But they protect against diseases. There is a recommended schedule, and like we just talked about, you know, we want to protect them before they're exposed to something that could hurt them. Strengthening your baby's immune system. When they're born, you know, their immune system isn't fully developed. Everything in the body is still kind of working itself out and finding its place. And they have some natural immunity from mom, and they can continue to have some natural immunity if they are breastfed. But again, if they're eating food, the air they breathe, things that they put in their mouth, they need vaccines to strengthen their immune system. I go back to my PowerPoint really quick before I get too far off track.
Erica, thanks for showing this website. This is a really great resource.
Absolutely. I love it. It makes it really easy. And I'm going to use it some more because the schedule that they show is really, really helpful. Oh, good. My button worked that time. Oh, and here we go. We're going to go right back to it. The vaccination information for school-age children. And this is the CDC guidelines. And right here on the right-hand side, you can see the Department of Health for Virginia, the requirements for our schools and daycares, which align. They are the CDC recommendations. So you can click on any of these depending on, you know, how old your baby is.
Do me a favor, Erica, will you minimize your PowerPoint again?
Oh, yes, ma'am. Good catch.
But I do think this is awesome because, you know, so many of our parents, like your children are of varying ages. And so some might be in school, but some might be in preschool, or maybe they're just getting ready to. So thanks. This is a really good way to look up whatever age applies to your kids.
Absolutely. Okay, so maybe we look at like a 7 to 10 years. What do you think? What are, let's see, maybe 4 to 6.
No. I think 7 to 10 is perfect because this age group is 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade.
Okay. So what vaccines will my 7 to 10-year-old get? We've got influenza on here. Everyone 6 months of age and older should get a flu vaccine every year. And we've got HPV on here. HPV can be given as early as 9 years old, and it helps protect from HPV infection and cancers that are caused by HPV. And this is a relatively new vaccine, and it is not a requirement at this time. It is available, however. So this one is really, really exciting because HPV does cause cancers. As adults get older, they can have HPV their whole life and nothing happens, and then cause cancers. It's a little bit scary, but I love that there's a vaccine for it now. My children did get this, my 2 older ones did get this when it came out, and I believe it's a series of 2. But anyway, I'll go back to influenza. Flu vaccine has to be done every year because the flu changes, it mutates, and the CDC and the World Health Organization and all those people that make vaccinations, they kind of figure out what flu strains are common for the year coming forward, and they do a best mix to protect us for kind of what's coming down the flu pipeline. I did get mine this year, and my 2-year-old actually got hers yesterday afternoon, and she's doing great. Hopefully we will keep her from being flu-y this year. I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint again. You can find the link for the Virginia schedule. apologize if this was a little clunky, me moving around between these two. There we go. Okay, so the Department of Health for Virginia, school and daycare. As a matter of fact, I probably have to take my daughter's updated vaccination record to her daycare. Okay, and we're gonna go back to the other screen, school requirements. Okay, as you can see here, it's got all of the vaccinations that are required for school and daycare, the minimum requirements listed here on the left-hand side. And this is that one I was talking about where you get 3 in 1, the diphtheria, tetanus, and pertussis. And you have to have 4 doses of that. But this list kind of goes through all of the ones that they will get. And it kind of looks like a lot, but when you realize, you know, like this one's all together, this one's all together, they don't get them all at the same time. And there's a whole schedule that, you know, they've been getting these since their first, I think it's their 2-month checkup is when they start to get their vaccination. Back to.
Perfect.
Okay. All right, so the notable ones. Pertussis is one that I made my mom and my aunt go get this when I had my daughter, who's 2 now. Because pertussis is one of those ones we get vaccinated against when we're younger, and then when we're adults, we don't really think about it unless it's required of us, like for work or something. But whooping cough is around. And as you get older, you can lose your immunity for it. And it's like an 8 to 10 years maybe. And you have to be re-immunized against it. And when it comes to little babies, they have no immunity against pertussis until they've had their full vaccine series. So you need the adults around them to be protected from whooping cough. So it's a really good idea for anybody that's going to be kissing on baby and loving on baby and holding the baby to go ahead and get another set of another shot for the DTaP so that they can be protected and therefore protect the little ones. And let's see, measles is part of the MMR. We actually have measles in the United States. We get outbreaks every little once in a while. And so it's super important to be protected against measles because it can, see, I'm going to go to the website here. I'll follow this link and show you guys. Measles. So 2 doses of MMR to protect against measles, mumps, and rubella. The 12 to 15 months and a 4 to 6 years. And there's that early school age years. And why should we get MMR? So measles, a potentially serious disease, as well as mumps and rubella. Measles can cause a nasty rash and a super high fever. And let's see. I digress, but I do think that having that vaccination is very important. And then I did talk a little bit about HPV already. That's the new one that is not a requirement, but it is available in that 7 to 10 bracket. And then the flu vaccine. Why should we get a flu vaccine? It keeps you from getting sick with the flu, and it can keep you from getting really sick. On that rare occasion that you do get sick with flu, your body has developed some immunity so that you fall into this number 2 right here where you have reduced severity of illness, so you're not as sick. So you might get the flu, but it won't knock you out. And not only that, but if you are protected against the flu, then you're not going to be giving it to the people around you. So, by protecting ourselves, we protect others. The same as, making sure that grandma and auntie have protection against pertussis so that they can't pass it to little ones.
Hey, oh, perfect. I was just about to say, Erica, I figured you might talk about some of the side effects, but I feel like oftentimes what I hear is that when I get the flu shot, I got the flu afterwards, right? Like I felt like I had a fever, I might have had body chills or something. And then I feel like I got the flu is what I hear often. Is that true?
So those are some mild side effects that can happen. It's not necessarily that you have the flu, what's happening is your body is reacting to the vaccination. So your body's like, oh, I don't like this. What is this? And it's mounting a response and it's building an immunity. And you can have a mild fever, aches, and these are all on this PowerPoint here, the side effects listed. Of course, you can have that soreness at the site, fever, chills, tiredness, headache, body aches, and that immune response, what your body's doing. I mean, it mimics a little bit of what flu can feel like, but it is not the same as being sick with the flu. And so those side effects can happen with any vaccine, and it depends on the person. It depends on, I mean, it can depend on so many different factors, where you are in your health journey at the moment. You know, whether you had enough iron in your diet, it's everything, right? How do we feel when we wake up in the morning? Serious side effects are like 1 or maybe 2 in a million. I looked this up because I wanted to make sure I was giving you the right information. They're extremely, extremely rare. And a lot of times when you take your baby for vaccinations for the first time, they're going to kind of keep you around for 10 or 15 minutes or so, just to make sure everything is going fine. Because if you are going to have a reaction, it's almost always going to be immediate. But those would be like difficulty breathing, swelling of the face and throat, and all over rash or dizziness. But again, extremely rare, 1 or 2 in a million.
Do you,
I mean,
Erica, would you
yeah.
recommend anything to prevent the side effects? Like, is there anything that you could take or that we should be doing maybe the
Oh,
day
absolutely.
of that you get that vaccine to help with some of it?
Absolutely, especially for your littles. You know, you don't want them to be uncomfortable or to be hurting or anything. You can do a Tylenol or a Motrin. Those are medicines that you can get over the counter. You don't have to buy the name brand. I don't. I like the chewable ones because they're not as messy, and you know, that just helps keep any of that achiness at bay. And then they, you know, I know my oldest always seemed like, ugh, he would always feel a low grade temp when it was MMR day. I'm like, okay. So I would do like Tylenol, and then I would do Motrin, and I just wanted him to kind of, you know, get through it and be comfortable. He was always very snuggly, so I didn't mind that so much. But yeah, they don't have to be uncomfortable. There's things we can do.
Perfect.
And any other questions I can answer, or we can go to common questions and look at a few of them.
Let's do that.
These are, let's see here. Let me get on the right screen again. Okay, so this is a common question. Is there a link between vaccines and autism? So this was like kind of blew up in the late 90s, early 2000s, I think it was, or maybe early 2000s. But the question between vaccines and autism, somebody published a paper and said, oh my gosh, the reason that children have autism is because of vaccines. And so there's a big stink, and it really got into everybody's minds and made people very, very afraid. And so the medical community looked at this doctor's research, and they said, this isn't even research. It's been debunked. It is absolutely a myth. There's no fact whatsoever, no relationship. And they continue to study and continue to look at, and still have not found a relationship between vaccines and autism. We talked about side effects. Overload my baby's immune system. This is what always freaking out. I'm like, how many shots are we getting today? So they don't overload the immune system. And again, here we go back to, you know, they're eating whatever they find, and it's going in their mouth and picking up rocks, and, you know, they get a little booger and it goes all over their face. They're just kind of generally gross. But so they're exposed to thousands of germs every single day, and they fight them off. And the antigens that they are receiving in vaccines are inactivated. They are, you know, not alive. They're weakened. So definitely not being overloaded. schedules. The schedules, I had questions about schedules. I thought, well, maybe we should just like space it all out, you know. My doctor said, no, absolutely not, because then you have these big gaps of time where your child is not protected. And I was like, oh, well, I hadn't thought about it that way. Okay. So protect the infants and children by providing protection early in life before they come in contact with life-threatening diseases. This is a good one. So we know that.
I was going to say, why do adolescents need vaccines?
Why do adolescents? Oh, here's right here. So they're recommended throughout our life to protect against disease. As protection from childhood vaccines wear off, adolescents need vaccines that will extend their protection. So they need protection from additional infections as well before the risk of exposure increases.
You know, that makes sense because as you mentioned earlier in the presentation, you know, they get this first round of vaccines when they're very young, before, you know, up to 1 year, 2 years of age. And then it starts to wear off. And so by the time they're in later elementary school, that's when they've got to start ramping back up to get this second round of stuff to continue to protect them from all of that. That makes perfect sense.
I had to do my Hep B vaccines over again. I have to do them every like 7 years or so because it won't stick to me. And everyone is different. Some people will only need one. But let's see. Oh, here's a good one. I love this question because I really do feel like we live in a place where we've gotten rid of so many diseases and we are so much safer. So this is a good question. Some vaccine preventable diseases like pertussis and chickenpox, they remain common in the United States. On the other hand, other diseases vaccines prevent are no longer common in this country because of vaccines. If we stop vaccinating, the few cases we have in the United States could very quickly become tens or hundreds of thousands of cases. Even though many serious vaccine preventable diseases are uncommon in the United States, some are common in other parts of the world. Even if your family doesn't travel, you could come into contact with travelers anywhere in your community, and children who don't receive all vaccinations and are exposed to disease can become seriously sick and spread it to your community. And these are things like what I'm thinking, there was a case of polio in New York recently. It was very random, and where in the world did it come from? But people got very worried because, you know, we got rid of polio. Things like measles, we touched on that a little bit. When people come to our country from other places and they're not vaccinated against measles, it can be very common for them to bring it, and then we have a little miniature measles outbreak, and it's very difficult to contain. And we get worried about kids that don't have their measles vaccinations. So, you know, we still have to stay on top of that. Okay, that might be, here we go. So in summary, definitely ask questions, talk to your child's provider. We want you to feel safe when your children is getting vaccines. We want your children to be safe. They want to give you all of the answers and all of the knowledge that you need to make these decisions. And also, if you need Kelsey and I to pop over to the school at drop-off time and do some flu vaccinations, we are more than willing to do that. Please let us know. In the meantime, you can go to Walgreens or Harris Teeter or Kroger, Walmart, CVS, Rite Aid, and you can get your vaccinations there super fast and super easy. So if you guys have questions, please send them to us. Kelsey, do you have anything else to add?
Nothing else to add. I think I just wanted to thank you and really appreciate you, like I said, taking the time to give us just a really high level overview of what vaccines are out there and some resources that you can use to find answers to any of the common questions that you might have. I think you and I both recognize there's a lot of vaccine hesitancy. So people that are, you know, you understand the need to have these vaccines, but you're hesitant to do that for a variety of reasons. And so really what we want to do is provide you an outlet to ask those questions in a safe space, and hopefully just give you some insight or provide you with information that might calm those fears or provide perspective. So thank you again. And we hope that a few of you are going to take some time to listen to this and that you find it helpful. So have a good rest of your night. And thank you again, Erica.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.